Why is it that every time you have a movie with an ensemble of amazing actors, actors that usually carry a movie by themselves, it turns out to be a letdown? It's kind of like the curse of video game movies. Can someone please break this? And I so badly wanted Don't Look Up to break that curse. So now that I've seen the movie, all right, here we go. Let's talk about it. Now, Don't Look Up is a Netflix movie that is directed by Adam McKay. I've liked Adam McKay's some of his movies. He usually, I think, goes for comedy movies. I certainly liked Step Brothers. It's not for everyone. So I get his somewhat quirky sense of humor. But then there are other movies that I'm not a huge fan of either. But it has my favorite actor, that is Leonardo DiCaprio. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this. It, of course, also stars Jennifer Lawrence, Meryl Streep, and even Timothée. And there's just a host of other characters. I mean, as soon as you're gonna see them, Jonah Hill, these are all famous actors. But does it hold up? Don't Look Up might turn out for me to be Don't Watch. It's of course watching Leonardo act and play that role. He throws himself into any role, so he's definitely watchable whenever he's on screen. And then there were a few chuckles here and there that I enjoyed. A few little banters back and forth. That's, genuinely funny. But let me tell you about some of the things that really didn't work for me. Was even from the direction perspective, the camera was all over the place. If you notice just the conversation, every time someone says something, the camera is cutting away to that person's face. So the camera was never really still for a moment. There was just excessive number of edits. There was a strange directorial choice of close-ups of different objects, seemingly random objects, whether it's someone's hands or their button or some billboard outside. And it's really a distraction because your brain's trying to connect. Wait, we were in the middle of a conversation, but why did I see a random billboard? That is it random? Is it not? So I just felt like that was a strange directorial choice. Yeah, distracting to me than creative. The other con is just the overall tone of the movie. At points I was like, am I watching a disaster movie? Because we all know the movie's about a comet headed to Earth. I was more in it for, okay, that's a huge event and how are they going to resolve it, right? That's what I'm here to... I'm excited about that in any disaster movies. There's this worldwide disaster and I want to see how they resolve it. And not many movies land that. Here, the tone was just... okay, comedy. And so you're handling it, it was confusing because you want us to take the environment, the fact that, we're destroying the earth can be destroyed because of our little infighting or politics. I get that. But at the same time, you're making fun of it and you've surrounded the movie with a whole bunch of clowns. Everyone's a buffoon. Everyone's trying to be funny. And so hardly anything is. And I think that's what my biggest issue is with this movie, is just the tone. I wish that maybe they went with a serious tone, but there's enough humor there. And in many ways, that's all it is. It's just trying to be funny. There were some, fairly interesting themes. Would I say interesting? Well, we've seen it before. But it talks about how tech can control our minds, influence our choices, how they're really taking over, and how politics behind the scenes is controlled by powerful businessmen. Characters, I like the TV hosts, their banter, their them being funny or pretending that everything is nice and sweet and hosting the show, even though the topics that they're talking about in their talk show is devastating. And there's definitely a character that I'm sure is supposed to mimic Jordan Peterson. Let me know if you find out who that character is. So I think the movie really, doesn't paint, if that's the angle they're going for, of course, they don't paint Jordan Peterson in a good light. I spoke about the tone. There's certainly a lot of plot holes. Things that make you go, how did that happen? Or wouldn't it just be easier if they did X, Y, Z? Or if this was in a real world situation, wouldn't the characters make these choices? I think one of the things I can think of at the top of my head is if the government thinks you're a threat and says you need to go off the grid, and some of the characters do, and they say, oh my gosh, I'm going off the grid, or the government is taking me off the grid. What does that mean? It looks like it just means they give you a ride home with a bag on your head, because the next thing you know, these characters are back online and campaigning and talking about it. So I don't understand where they're going off the grid necessarily. The other biggest issue I had, I think to the detriment of the movie, is it's just too long. It's too long, and it sort of beats the same message. You have two characters who's trying to warn politicians in the world about the world coming to an end because of a comet, and no one's listening to them, and everyone in the world is just stupid. People are stupid, politicians are stupid, everyone's just clowning about. In some ways, except for these two, I guess. And we need to take this issue seriously. I mean, we get that from the trailers, we get that in the first 10 minutes, but that's the driving message that they have throughout the movie. It doesn't need to be nearly 2 hours and 30 minutes almost. I think for sure this is the worst role I've seen, or movie I've seen, of Leonardo DiCaprio. Sadly, I used to boast that there's hardly any bad movie with the man. The guy knows how to choose his movies. This ain't it. Of course, he threw himself to the character. He was believable. You have that classic vein-popping, shouting, head-exploding scenes with Leonardo DiCaprio that we're all now used to, and he does that perfectly. But apart from that, and Jennifer Lawrence's character, her background, her relationships, all of it feels not really fleshed out, not really real. And so at the end of the day, extremely forgettable. Even the main two characters are forgettable. The rest are just clowns. That's what I remember. Yeah, so really not very memorable characters either. So overall, a lot of issues with this movie. I was thoroughly disappointed, to say the least. I would give this movie 2 stars at the most. I really wouldn't recommend anyone watch it, but if you don't have anything to do, it can definitely kill more than 2 hours of your time. What were your thoughts? Did you like it a lot more than I did? What did you like about the movie? And then if you want to crib about the movie, you can do that in the comment section as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will be back with another review.